Situational judgment tests are a really interesting way of assessing people. They are kind of a mixture of a cognitive and a behavioural assessment, in that they kind of load onto both variables, and as a result they kind of occupy this middle space between them, where if you want to look at both a little bit, SJTs become a really good option for that. But how do they work? So typically, the candidate will be given some sort of hypothetical scenario. They'll be told that they are a manager in a bank, or a customer service executive at a retail centre. Something hypothetical, give context, and then usually something will go wrong in this hypothetical context. There'll be an argument with a customer, some sort of stakeholder will become angry, or some key piece of information has been left out of a meeting, something like that. And then you, as a candidate, will need to do a number of things. You may need to read a number of ways to resolve the situation and then choose one. That's one way this can be operationalized. Others, you'll be given a list of potential options and then rate the effectiveness, or rank order the effectiveness of solutions to deal with this problem. And you could already see how this would be relevant to the workplace. It's indicative of one's ability to reason, to solve problems, to employ effective judgments. And naturally, it's never a disadvantage having an applicant who becomes an employee that can solve problems, who can think clearly, who can make the right decisions when problems occur. As a result, they're very commonly used typically at graduate level, as it's very hard to assess decision-making ability in people who have no real work experience. But they can be used elsewhere. They can be used with managers, they can be used with experienced professionals. Usually, those assessments are very specific to the role, in that you will have one specific for salespeople, or customer service representatives, or for managers, or for emerging talent, because naturally those hypothetical situations have to be relevant. Otherwise, it's not looking at their ability to solve problems in that context. And so that in and of itself is quite a benefit, because applicants will see the scenario and think, okay, this is immediately relevant to my job. Whereas often with behavioural and cognitive assessments, candidates may not be aware that they're relevant to job performance at all, because it's so abstract. Whereas with situational judgment tests, they tend to be very specific. They tend to be very, what we would call, face valid in psychology. As a result, organisations use them quite liberally. They use them often as an early screen, because it's very easy to do. You can invite a large number of applicants. They also, in my opinion, they're a little of a niche in an assessment centre. I really like using them in assessment centres because they're very relaxed. There's no timer. The scenarios can be relatively interesting. They almost serve a little bit as a sort of realistic job preview as well, because it's all workplace relevant stuff specific to the role. And so I like having them at assessment centres just to break the day up a little bit, give them a little bit of time to themselves to diffuse and introspect. It's a really useful tool in that stage in the recruitment process. But you can use them in a number of different ways, and the evidence is pretty good that they work.